All right, how's it going, everyone? Thank you for taking time to check out this video. It's not exactly fun stuff to talk about. So if you're watching this, you know you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for you. And for that, I thank you, because I know that all is self. So if you're helping yourself out, you're actually helping me out at the same time. And I like to think that if I can help myself out, I'm helping out those around me. So one big hug, or massage chain. Today, what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to focus on, are steps that you can do to get yourself out of the rut, to cut yourself from the pornography addiction. And we're going to be focusing on physical steps that you can take. This is going to be 3 parts. First part's going to be physical, then we're going to touch on the mental, and then finally the spiritual. Wrap it all together. You know, I like to take a holistic approach. Holistic just means whole. You know, I like to take a holistic approach because I feel that that is the most effective way to do things. If you do just the physical stuff, you're gonna be doing what they call like white knuckling it. You know, you're just brute forcing it, and that's very taxing on your willpower, on your mind, and it ultimately, not ultimately, but there's a good chance it'll end up in a relapse because it's just really hard to do. That's what I try to do at first. I said, okay, well, I'm just not going to look at it, and I'm going to try and focus on these other things. But I didn't realize that the porn was giving me something, from something very important. It was giving me dopamine, and that dopamine was something to look forward to. It was a reason to get through the day, so that at the end of the day, I could look at whatever videos that I wanted to look at. If you're going to get rid of the porn, you have to have a replacement for that. That's so important. You have to replace it. It's like you're taking a block out. You got to put something else underneath it, otherwise it's going to fall apart. Your brain is very much the same way. What we're doing here, what our goal here is to rewire the chemistry of your brain and your reinforcement pathways. You're going to cause havoc, because you're disrupting your status quo. If your status quo is going home and looking at interracial porn every day, you stop doing that. That's disrupting the status quo. If your status quo is, you know, you beat your wife and then you smoke some crack, to get rid of that, that's disrupting the status quo, and you're causing mayhem and havoc. That's not to say that it doesn't have a positive, that you're not working towards balance, but you have to destroy sometimes in order to create. So we're going to get started on the physical things. Some of this will be common sense, but we're going to have to get over it and go over it anyways. The first and foremost thing, stop looking at pornography. I found that to kind of like go from, okay, well, I'm not going to watch sissy videos, or I'm not going to watch loser stuff. I'm just going to watch regular pornography. It didn't work. It didn't work. There was too many triggers still there, and it's kind of like, I'm going to stop drinking, but I'm still going to hang out in the bar and play pool. It's like, just take yourself out of that environment altogether. So yeah, stop watching it. Stop watching it. This is going to be very difficult if you find yourself to be currently single, that you don't have access to another person to unload your sexual energy onto. But that's something we're going to touch on later as well. You got to cut it out, man. You got to cut it out. One thing that's important with that too is set your environment up in a way so that it's not conducive to look at pornography. If you find yourself usually looking at it as you're going to sleep on your phone, leave your phone out in the living room. You shouldn't have any electronics in your bedroom in the first place. It's not good. It's not good for you. But leave your phone out in the living room. This is also works if you have trouble waking up. Then you, as soon as your alarm, you have to get up and get out of bed. You can't just roll over and turn it off. But most importantly, you're not going to have access to it. Now, it's a simple, but this goes into the whole discipline thing, okay? If you have suggestive pictures on your phone, or around the house, toss them. You don't need that. If you got like a Hooters catalog or calendar, take that shit out. When it comes time and you do have a love interest, you're gonna thank me. I'm getting rid of that stuff anyways. It's tacky. But it goes back to we're trying to get rid of all the potential triggers. Okay. If there was something that, let's say, maybe you have like a masturbating shirt that you put on every time you put it on, you did that, or some pair of panties, I don't know, whatever it is, toss those things. They don't serve you anymore. The only thing that they do is they start a chain of reaction that will lead you back watching those videos. Okay? One thing for me that I had to do was I had to stop smoking weed. I realized that almost every time when I was masturbating to pornography, I was high. That's not to say that smoking weed will make you do these things. That's a whole nother conversation. It doesn't. But I paired it with that activity. If you ate ice cream and then you masturbated every time, get rid of the ice cream. You guys get the idea. You want to set up your environment so it's not conducive to be doing those things. You don't have lotion and tissue next to your bed. Move them away to a point where they probably should be. Maybe in the bathroom or wherever. Setting up your environment is very important because our environment plays a huge role in what shapes us. Once you get your environment and everything in order, then you can start to really focus on, okay, what do I need to do? Now, what I found is that watching these videos, especially if you go into a cycle of looking at it, stopping, and then relapsing, it starts to eat away your willpower and at your discipline. So you're going to have to get your discipline back up. How do you get your discipline up? Like anything, through competence, through slowly and continuous effort. Doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be success. It just needs to be effort, that you're putting effort into it. So one of the things on my list is exercise. Okay? This is a big one. Exercise will alleviate a lot of that static energy that you have from not indulging yourself. You're going to have some sort of outlet. Me, when I started, I was like, okay, I'm going to do a bunch of push-ups every day. And that worked for me. It helped out. I kind of got in shape. I overshot myself because I told myself I was going to do, I think it was 100 or 200 every day. One of the two. Anyways, by like day 11, I couldn't do it. Like my upper body, my stuff was so strained and so sore, I couldn't do it. I set my expectations too high. And that's going to be the one of the main keys in this video, is setting your expectations. The most important thing is not to set these high goals, but to meet them through effort. If you're overweight, or if you're really skinny and you're physically you're not that strong, then realize that. Don't kid yourself. You're not gonna start working out for an hour a day or 30 minutes. Hell, you might not even make it past 10. But I guarantee you could do a minute. That's where you start at. If that's all you can do, that's where you start at. Do it consistently. Okay, I did 5 push-ups today. Maybe it's just going for a walk. Being in nature is amazing. Amazing. I'm in a climate where I can't go outside right now without having 50 layers on. If you can go outside, even better. But having a physical regimen, some sort of exercise routine, is very, very good. It will pay off in so many different ways. You're going to be getting in shape, so you're going to start to look and feel better about yourself. You're going to get those endorphins and that dopamine running through your system. You're going to be burning this excess, this static energy, the sexual energy. You're going to be harnessing it. And most importantly, you're going to be building that discipline. If you can do this 21 days, 3 weeks in a row, you're going to feel good. That might be the most that you've ever done anything consistently in a row, aside from going to the job that you have to go to so you don't get kicked the fuck out of your house. That was one of my biggest problems, is that I always had a lot of good ideas. I just didn't have any consistency. I didn't understand why. I do now. I didn't have any consistency. So yeah, do that. I'm not gonna spend my time to describe what, workout and stuff routine. There's channels that people are far more knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. All I can say is that you do want to do something. I have some kettlebells around the house. I have a pull-up bar. You can do push-ups anywhere. Sit-ups. I also have a little hand squeezer that helps me out a lot, because I find myself idle, and the job that I have can be stressful at times. So it helps me to remain calm. Another thing, stretching. This goes hand in hand with the exercising. That's something you should do before and afterwards. But it's another thing that you can do into where it's not as physically demanding as exercising per se, but it's still good. You're still getting your body moving. Okay, you got to get out of your funk. You have to change your environment. This is all about breaking patterns. Stretching is very good. Some sort of if you're into yoga, you can do that. Yoga is really good. Once we get to start talking about the chakras and everything, we'll go more on that. But that's really far down the line. Breathing exercises. This starts to go into meditation. This is what I would do whenever I would have urges. I would have a little thing that if a thought popped into my head, where I'm looking, I find myself, I'm like, oh my god, man, just staring at a girl ass, or trying to maneuver so I can see her cleavage, or if I'm just thinking about fucking or sex or something like that. Essentially thoughts that would lead me back to going back to pornography. This is what I would personally do. I would just be like, no, and I would think in my head, cancel that. I'd grab my squeezer, give it a few squeezes. That's that. Over time, you'll start to associate that feeling with, okay, it's time to exercise, it's time to be physical. But breathing is very important, and the breathing technique that I like to do is the whole body breathing, and that's where you're breathing into your stomach. You don't stop at your chest, that's shallow. You breathe into your stomach and then out. And you can do this again with the exercising. If you want to do it 5 minutes a day, that's cool. That's decent. As long as you're doing it consistently, and at some point you increase it. Maybe you do it 5 minutes a day for a week. Then the next week it's 6. And then the next week it's 7. Now it might seem silly. You're like, oh, I could do 30, whatever. It's not about that. Because you're probably not gonna do 30, 21, or 7 months in a row. But you can do it incrementally. And I always have such a an RPG mindset when it comes to a lot of things. I like to level up. I like that slow build up. So it plays into it for me as far as that goes. But yeah, the breathing is very important. And some of this stuff, you don't necessarily need to know why it works. You just have to do it. And that's what I found out. I would go off of hearsay on some of these things. I'm a very I don't like to believe anything until I know it, and I know things through experience. So I hear it, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. But let me try that. So that's what I'm saying. Just try it. Just try it. When you feel like you're done looking at pornography, try doing these things as a replacement. Okay? And it helps to have a routine. It helps to have some structure in it. I would do it so that, okay, I like to play video games, so I would make it so that I'd have to do this, and this until I can get to whatever it is activity that I want to get to, whether that's playing a game or watching a movie or even listening to a podcast, which is a really passive thing to do, but it's something that I enjoy to do. So I would put the things that I don't necessarily like before it, just so that that's my reward. And what you're doing there is you're building up your delayed gratification. Something that I was listening to recently, they were talking about how a lot of men without fathers have problems with delayed gratification. I didn't meet my father till I was 20. So I was like, oh, well, that kind of makes sense. Because that's something I always had issues with. I always wanted something really now. And it's hard for me to work consistently. And I think some of that stuff plays into a lot of this pornography stuff that we fall into. I think there's a loss of a sense of masculinity, balanced masculinity. And that's replaced with the toxic stuff that we see in these videos. This warped, crazy stuff. So yeah, you wanna get discipline. You want to build up your delayed gratification, and you want to have structure and a routine. So here's an example. You could spend, if you're just now starting off doing this, try this. 5 minutes. I would say, yeah, 5 minutes exercising, okay? And that means you do 5 minutes. Set a timer. Do whatever it is. If you're gonna do push-ups for 5 minutes, if you're gonna do push-ups and sit-ups, if you're gonna jog for 5 minutes, just do it. Make sure you're doing it consistently throughout that time. Do 5 minutes. When you get done, take a little break. Take a little break, 10, 15, 20, and stretch. Maybe you stretch for 5 minutes. Then after that, you can do the breathing, 5 minutes. Okay. Do the breathing, and just be focused on your breath. The idea ultimately is to turn off the thoughts, but that's so far down the line. That's like trying to shoot a hole in one. You think about shooting a hole in one the first day out on the golf course. Okay, just focus on your breath. Focus on in, out. Did it go? Is my stomach okay? Is my stomach expanding? Is my stomach contracting? Can I feel it in your back, your diaphragm? Is that where your diaphragm is at? Yeah, can you feel it in your back? That's stuff to focus on, and that leads you into what people talk about as meditation. But meditation has so many different ideas behind it. It's hard to get bogged down. Yeah, start that. Start having a good routine so that you can have some accountability for yourself. This will help boost your self-confidence, and it will help your body out. Other things on the physical realm, get your diet in order. It may seem odd. This is a channel talking about ways to come off of pornography addiction, but getting your diet in order is the first thing that I think anyone would have to do in almost anything that they're trying to do as far as altering their behaviors towards balance goes. The diet that we have nowadays, the Western diet, is trash. It's really bad. And it sets us up in a way so that we become more susceptible to these other pitfalls. If you're eating food that makes you weak, that makes you tired, that saps your strength, then you're not going to have any energy when it comes to denying these urges that you get. So that's why you want to swatch it. You want to get a good diet. Again, I'm not the most knowledgeable person on this. There's a lot of different channels that do this way better than me. But the few things that I can suggest is getting rid of a lot of the sugars, the white processed sugars, candy, pop, you know the deal. This is something that you need to do incrementally, though, because it's very hard to do this and to stop doing the porn and start working out at the same time. But that's why we're doing it in very little doses. It's like we're doing everything at the same time. We're just doing it very like incrementally, okay? So if you want to start fixing your diet, maybe get rid of pop, all right? Get rid of pop. You want to drink some high C's or whatever. All I drink is water. Whatever it is, that's cool. As long as you get rid of pop. Do that for 2 weeks where there's no pop. Then, once you feel like you have that nipped, okay, now that I got rid of pop, now let me see if I can take care of it. I got a sweet tooth, let me get rid of this candy. And what this will do is it will show you that, hey, you don't need these things. All right? They need you. You don't need them. And this is relatable to the porn. You don't need that stuff to feel aroused. You don't need it to feel sexual gratification. This is something that is learned. No one's born with a foot fetish. No one's born wanting to be a cuckold. All right, these are all things that are learned, that are programmed into you through circumstance. It doesn't matter if you learned it when you were 1 year old or if you learned it when you were 21. It's still something that you learned. It's not innate. It's not a part of you. All right, it's not a part of you. Yeah, your diet is important. And talk about your diet real quick. Candida. If anyone knows what candida is, it's a fungus. It's a type of, you could think of it as like a parasite, a fungus-based parasite. And everyone has it in their system, but when you have too much of it, that's when you have problems. And there's a lot of different ways that it shows. You get like flush on your tongue, it will look white, and some other things. But the interesting thing, and the reason I brought it up, is because when there's a lot of it, they create these enzymes and mass that send signals to your brain that tell you, hey, get some sweets. I want some sugar. I'm hungry. Ooh, candy or cake sounds nice. And you're thinking, oh, I just want to have some of that. Nah, man, that's not you. That's a little candida. It's a little funguses inside of you. The same thing with the pornography. You're like, oh man, I want to look at this. I want to go look at, whatever, some blueberry porn or something. That's not you. That's a behavior and an entity that you created that wants it. All right, you're just the host. You're just a vehicle for it to get what it wants. Let me see what else I have here on the physical thing. Yeah. While you're doing that, you want to focus on also the proper way to masturbate. Okay? And by that, at this point, no pornography. Okay? And essentially, you just use your head. No funny business. You don't need to, you don't want to have any accessories. You don't need any accessories. All you really need is your hand. All right? And you can still do that through this process. Now it's up to you. If you feel like doing that is too hard, that it's too much of a what's it called, a trigger, then cut it out completely. That can make it a little bit different, but it's based on your situation. It's based on what works for you. So again, use that to your discretion. But getting back to it, if you still want to do that, yeah, you don't want to have any. You don't need any props. Okay, you don't need anything. These are all, not all of them, but most of them are triggers. I can't really imagine as a male anything that you need aside from this. And this is, think of this like a training wheel or a crutch to get you through. A good book, if you want to learn some positive habits, are the Multi-Orgasmic Man by Montauk Chai. That's a really good book. He goes into some high level stuff, and we'll talk about that later. But again, that's kind of like graduate level stuff. We're still in kindergarten. We still got to figure out how to tie our shoes. So that's what we're doing on the physical tip. So yeah, to recap, have a regimen. Okay, doesn't have to be rigorous. It just has to be continuous. Okay, continuous. Set goals that you will meet. 5 minutes a day, 3 different things. Start working on your diet. That's a continuous thing. And I'll add my 2 cents. I think I'll have a video talking about that and exercise a little bit more in depth. But start working on that. All these things come into play. All these things. If you're eating McDonald's and stuff every day, that stuff doesn't have any nutrients. How are you gonna have the energy to stand up to this demon that you're facing if you're running off of Whoppers and greasy fries? It's not possible. It's not possible. And even if it is, why would you want to set yourself up for it to be more difficult than what it needs to be? Fix your environment. Don't have things lying around that will lead you back to it. For me, it was smoking. Another thing is I had to stop playing video games at the same time because I feel like those things were both somehow had gotten connected in a strange way. So I had to cut that out for a while. can start to reintroduce it now. But yeah, make another one about the mental aspect, talking about like dopamines, positive thinking, mantras, different ways to balance your mind now, because that's where a big part of the battlefield is, especially with the stuff that we're dealing with. And yeah, I just want to give a shout out to the people who have, left comments. I think it was on the channel, and it means a lot because this is something that I'm doing as kind of like a side project, but something that I am passionate about and that I want to do. Because again, I feel like all is self. So if I can help other people, then I'll be helping myself at the same time. And this is information that I wish I would have had going into it, because maybe I would have made some different choices. So yeah, I just appreciate all of the the feedback and the comments, and every I'm trying to get back to everybody who said something. I'm also going to be making a Discord channel so that we could have a place to communicate, bounce ideas off of, things that work, things that don't work, and if anyone has any questions specifically for me, you could reach me out there. So, alright, I'll see you guys on the flip side. I'm going to make the other one in a little bit. Wholeness.